Rain hammered the highway, turning the asphalt into a mirror of silver and shadow. At 9:47 on a stormy Tuesday night, Naomi Ellis steered her aging silver sedan through sheets of rain, headlights cutting narrow tunnels of light. Then came the flash, red and blue lights bursting behind her like warning flares. She sighed, pulled to the shoulder, and glanced at her dash cam. Recording. Always recording. The cruiser door opened. Even through the downpour, she recognized the stance, the calm arrogance of Captain Victor Hale, the face of Hawthorne Ridge law enforcement. Local hero. Quiet tyrant. Naomi steadied her breathing, her fingers tight on the wheel. She had imagined this confrontation for months. She just hadn't expected it tonight. Hale's flashlight beam struck her window. "Evening, counselor," he said smoothly. "Brake lights out. Routine stop." Naomi met his gaze. "That's not true, Captain." Another patrol car slid up behind him, lights flicking once before going dark. A third vehicle idled across the street, unmarked. Through her mirror, Naomi saw another officer, Morales, approaching the trunk. 3 officers for a tail light. Hale leaned closer, rain streaking across his face. "License and registration." "You haven't said why I was stopped," she replied. "Tail light," he repeated, smiling thinly. "Dangerous in this weather. Step out, please. Am I being detained?" "Just a safety check, unless you've got something to hide." His hand brushed the holster at his hip. Her heart thudded. The road was empty. The rain swallowed every sound. Naomi tapped her phone's recorder once more, then opened the door. Rain drenched her instantly. Hale moved to stand between her and his cruiser, protective in appearance, threatening in purpose. "I'm going to search your vehicle," he said. "You don't have probable cause." "I smell marijuana." His tone was practiced, flat. "That's cause enough." Naomi's jaw clenched. "You know that's false." Behind him, Morales opened the trunk. His hand slipped inside his jacket, quick, hidden. Naomi's instincts flared. She stepped forward, but Hale blocked her path. "Stay right there," he ordered. Thunder cracked overhead. Through the blur of rain, Naomi glimpsed movement across the street, a lone figure under the awning of a closed diner, faint phone glow visible. Someone was watching. Then Morales's voice rang out, too loud, too rehearsed. "Captain, you'll want to see this." Hale approached the trunk. His flashlight caught a clear plastic bag, glistening with white powder. 3 kilos, he said coolly. "Street value, about 150,000. Naomi's stomach dropped. "That's not mine. You planted it." Hale's face shifted into mock pity. "A public defender trafficking drugs. What a disappointment." He nodded. Metal cuffs snapped around her wrists, cold and sharp. "Naomi Ellis, you're under arrest for possession with intent to distribute." "This is because of my father," she shot back. "Because I've been investigating you." Hale leaned close, voice low and venomous. "Your father made the same mistake. Couldn't prove anything. Look how that ended." The words hit harder than the rain. Leon Ellis, her father, detective turned scapegoat, dead, before clearing his name. Hale had destroyed him once. Now, he was trying again. Morales shoved her toward the cruiser. Pain shot through her shoulder as she stumbled. Hale stood by the trunk, phone to his ear, rain glinting off his smirk. Naomi didn't need to hear the conversation to know the headline already forming. "Respected black attorney caught with cocaine." Through the rain-streaked window of the patrol car, she looked back. The diner across the street was empty now. Whoever had been there was gone. She closed her eyes and whispered, steady and defiant, "You picked the wrong woman." The storm raged on, washing the road clean, but not the truth. Her camera was still running, her watch was still recording. And soon, everything Captain Victor Hale thought he'd buried would rise to the surface. Fog rolled over Hawthorne Ridge at dawn, soft and deceptive. By sunrise, every news outlet carried the same story. Public defender arrested with cocaine. Naomi Ellis's booking photo filled the screens. Wet hair, defiant eyes, the perfect fall from grace. Captain Victor Hale stood before cameras, voice solemn. It's always tragic when those sworn to protect justice betray that oath. The crowd nodded. The myth of the hero remained intact. Inside the county jail, Naomi sat on a cold bench, blazer still damp from the night before. She'd replayed every second of the stop, the flicker of Hale's smirk, Morales's hidden hand, the smell of wet asphalt. Fear pressed hard against her ribs, but beneath it burned something stronger. Anger. Clarity. Hale thought he'd buried her, but he'd only unearthed his own grave. A deputy entered, expression bored. "Personal effects," he muttered, setting a clear bag on the table. Inside, her phone, wallet, and her father's old silver watch. Naomi's pulse steadied. That watch held more than memories. It held evidence, 6 months of recorded conversations, GPS data, and Hale's voice. And somewhere outside these walls, a backup waited in encrypted storage. He didn't know that yet. Across town, Renee Ellis read the headline twice, disbelief turning to fury. Her sister, framed, humiliated. Renee had exposed corrupt developers, crooked judges, but this was blood. She replayed Naomi's last text. "If anything happens to me, check Dad's tackle box." By noon, she was in her car heading north toward Lake Alder, where their father's cabin sat buried in pine and silence. The drive blurred through mist and anger. At City Hall, Hale accepted congratulations from the mayor and local press. "Exceptional work, Captain," someone said. Cameras flashed. He smiled, charming and false. Yet inside, something gnawed. Morales had looked uneasy. Officer Jenkins hadn't shown up for roll call. Hale's instincts whispered, "Clean up the trail." Back in her cell, Naomi was led to interrogation. The fluorescent lights buzzed, the air thick with disinfectant. District Attorney Avery Dunn sat across from her, tie straight, voice calm. "Ms. Ellis, the evidence is damning. Plead guilty, cooperate, and you might serve 5 years. Naomi met his eyes. "You mean make it easier for Hale?" Dunn's tone cooled. "The cocaine was found in your trunk. You planted it through your officers." He leaned forward. "Then prove it before a jury. But don't expect anyone to believe the daughter of a disgraced cop." The words hit like gravel, but Naomi didn't blink. She only thought of her father, Leon Ellis, a detective who died before clearing his name. She whispered silently, "I'm not done yet, Dad." Evening bled across the horizon when Renee reached the cabin. The air smelled of pine and rain. Inside, everything remained frozen in time. Coffee mug on the counter, old case files yellowing by the window. She found the tackle box under the sink, its metal corroded, latch stiff. Inside lay a waterproof pouch marked with her father's handwriting, Harbor Light. She plugged the enclosed USB drive into her laptop. Files opened, photos of seized evidence, payment ledgers, police reports. Every thread led back to Captain Victor Hale. The last entry, dated 5 days before Leon's death, read, "If something happens to me." The case continues with Naomi. Renee's breath caught. Her father hadn't given up. He'd prepared her sister for this fight. The truth had been sitting here waiting for the right hands. Outside, wind swept across the lake, bending the treetops. In the city below, Hale rehearsed his next interview, unaware the same story that crowned him hero would soon make him a criminal. The sisters were moving on different fronts, but toward the same storm, and Hawthorne Ridge was about to feel the full weight of the truth. The rain returned that night, whispering against the narrow windows of Naomi's cell. Sleep refused to come. Every sound, the drip of a pipe, the shuffle of guards, became part of the rhythm of waiting. She replayed her father's voice in her head. Always assume the evidence can vanish. Never assume the truth will protect you. At dawn, she was led into a crowded courtroom for arraignment. Reporters filled the benches, whispering like vultures. Judge Harold Pike presided, his golf tan glowing beneath the lights. Naomi's court-appointed attorney Peter Walsh looked as nervous as a rookie. "Your Honor," he began. "Ms. Ellis has deep community ties, no prior record. We request reasonable bail." District Attorney Dunn rose smoothly. The defendant was caught with 3 kilos of cocaine, street value over $150,000. Her position as a public defender makes this betrayal particularly severe. Naomi clenched her hands, chains rattling softly. Walsh pressed on. "We allege evidence was planted in retaliation for her investigations into police misconduct." Judge Pike barely glanced up. "Serious accusations require serious proof. Bail is set at $1 million. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Hale sat in the back row, immaculate as ever, lips twitching at the corners. As Naomi was led away, their eyes met. His message was clear. "You can't touch me." In the corridor, a female guard murmured, "Keep your head down, counselor." But Naomi saw something in her eyes, a flicker of respect, maybe pity. It gave her enough strength to keep walking. By noon, the story dominated the local airwaves. "Public defender turned drug trafficker," one anchor said. "A tragic irony," another added. Hale stood before microphones once again, lamenting the fall of a once promising attorney. He called for integrity in the justice system. Cameras loved him. The city loved him. Across the bay, Renee listened from her car radio, disgust tightening her jaw. She'd spent the morning printing every file from the USB drive. Her father had built a detailed map, warehouse addresses, payment transfers, arrest patterns. The name Harbor Light Imports appeared over and over, a shell company registered to an empty building by the docks. She called her tech contact, Jamal Ortiz, a data analyst she'd worked with on a corruption expose 2 years ago. "I need eyes on a storage facility near Pier 32, she said. "That's Hale's turf," Jamal warned. "Exactly. Can you access their security feeds? Give me an hour." Back at the station, Hale closed the blinds in his office. Morales waited inside, pale and restless. "Captain, what if she—" "She won't." Hale cut in. "Her sister's a journalist, not a cop. She'll dig, maybe make noise, but it won't matter. We've survived louder scandals." Morales swallowed hard. "And Jenkins? He's still missing." Hale's eyes hardened. "Handle it." That evening, Renee met Jamal at a diner off the freeway. His laptop glowed between greasy menus. "Got something," he whispered. Grainy footage from a warehouse camera showed officers unloading unmarked duffel bags, transferring them to civilian trucks. No evidence tags, no documentation. Hale appeared in one frame, face half lit by the headlights. Renee's breath caught. "Can you trace when that was?" 2 nights before Naomi's arrest. It was the proof she needed, but not yet enough to publish. She needed confirmation, financial records, witness statements, maybe even Hale's voice. In her cell, Naomi stared at the ceiling, counting each tick of the fluorescent light. She knew her sister would be moving. She trusted her to find what she couldn't. Miles apart, the Ellis sisters carried the same fire, one trapped inside the system, one clawing at it from the outside. And neither planned to stop until Hawthorne Ridge finally saw what justice really looked like. The storm eased by morning, leaving the city glazed in wet silver. Naomi sat alone in the jail's visitation booth, staring at her reflection in the plexiglass. The bruises on her wrists had darkened overnight. The guard announced her visitor, and a tall man in a gray suit stepped in. His badge caught the light. Internal Affairs. Detective Ethan Cole, he introduced, sitting opposite her. His voice was low, measured. Transferred from Chicago 3 months ago. Naomi studied him. Internal Affairs doesn't usually visit defendants. I'm not here on official record, he replied. I've seen things that don't make sense. Missing evidence logs, erased body cam footage, sudden transfers. Captain Hale's name keeps showing up. Naomi's pulse quickened. Why tell me? Because you're not the first person he's framed, Cole said quietly. And you might be the last if we don't move fast. Naomi leaned forward. You're saying you'll help me? I'm saying I'll help the truth. But I need proof. Something undeniable. Naomi nodded slowly. Then start at Pier 32. Look for a company called Harborlight Imports. Cole raised an eyebrow. How do you know that? My father investigated it before he died. It's Hale's front. He hesitated, then slipped her a card. Memorize the number. Call when you're out. Use no traceable device. The guard returned, signaling the end of visitation. Cole stood. They're accelerating your case, he warned. Expect trial within a week. After he left, Naomi pressed her palms together, mind racing. Her father had been right. Corruption wasn't a disease, it was a design. But designs could be dismantled. That afternoon, Renee met Jamal in a coffee shop overlooking the harbor. His laptop hummed between them. You were right, he said, showing her a series of export manifests. Harborlight imports files shipments every 2 weeks, same dates as major narcotics busts. They're moving confiscated drugs through a shell corporation. Renee's eyes widened. They seize the drugs, then sell them back into circulation. Repackaged, redistributed, and resold, Jamal confirmed. A perfect loop. Renee exhaled. My father must have been close to exposing this. That's why they killed him. Jamal looked up. You sure you want to go public? If you release this without solid evidence, they'll bury you too. Then we make it solid, she said. We find the warehouse, and we get Hale on tape. That evening, Hale met privately with District Attorney Dunn at a downtown bar. Away from reporters, his charm dropped. We can't risk leaks, he said. Fast-track the trial. Push for a plea. I want her convicted before anyone starts asking about the chain of custody. Dunn stirred his drink. You're making a lot of enemies, Victor. I've been doing that my entire career, Hale replied coolly. The difference is, I win. Back in her cell, Naomi watched a guard slip a folded note beneath her tray. The handwriting was rushed. Your sister's moving. She found something. Stay strong. No signature. She felt a strange calm settle over her. They were connected again. Two halves of the same plan her father had started years ago. Outside, Renee parked near the docks, camera ready, Jamal monitoring feeds from his car. Warehouse lights flickered on in the distance. Figures moved in and out, uniforms, duffel bags, unmarked vans. She whispered into her recorder, "This is it. Proof of the Harbor Light operation." As the clock struck midnight, Hale himself appeared, inspecting the shipment. Renee's camera zoomed in. His face came clear through the rain. She hit record, whispering, "Game on, Captain." By dawn, the video was safe on 3 drives, one in Renee's pocket, one in Jamal's encrypted cloud, one mailed to a contact at the Sequoia Times. Still, her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The footage showed Hale beside unmarked crates, signing off deliveries that should never have existed. But grainy images weren't enough to bring him down. She needed money trails, names, witnesses, something that would stand up in court. That same morning, Naomi was moved to the county's main detention wing. The new cell smelled of bleach and despair. Her bunkmate, a wiry woman with tired eyes, extended a hand. "Keisha Monroe," she said softly. "Used to be a nurse until Hale's boys found pills in my trunk." Naomi gripped her hand. "You were framed too. Weren't we all?" Keisha gave a bitter laugh. "They said I was stealing meds from the hospital. I reported a beating that left a kid in a coma. 2 weeks later, I was in cuffs." The story landed like a punch. "How long ago?" Naomi asked. 8 months. Naomi's mind clicked through connections. Same pattern, same timeline. "You still remember names?" "Every one of them," Keisha said. "And I'm ready to talk." Hours later, in a small conference room, Naomi met with Ethan Cole again. He looked exhausted, like a man standing on the edge of something he couldn't yet see. "You were right," he said. "Pier 32 checks out, but internal affairs is compromised. Lieutenant Voss reports directly to Hale." Naomi's stomach turned. "So who do you trust?" "Almost no one," he admitted. "But there's an ongoing federal task force watching organized crime links across state lines. If Harbor Light ties into interstate trafficking, it's their jurisdiction. I've already made a call." "Then we need to move faster," Naomi said. "He's accelerating my trial." Cole nodded grimly. "The DA just filed to skip preliminary hearings." That night, Hale drove alone through the rain toward his gated house overlooking the cliffs. He poured a drink, opened his laptop, and played Renee's leaked footage, already circulating online in whispers. Someone had uploaded a still frame. Captain Hale, supervising an unmarked transfer. His phone rang. "Delete everything," he snapped. "Track whoever leaked it. I want them quiet." On the other end, Morales hesitated. "Sir, this won't stay quiet. The feds might already—" "Handle it," Hale barked, slamming the glass down hard enough to crack it. At the same hour, Renee met a woman from the Justice Network in a dim parking garage. The contact, a retired prosecutor named Camille Rhodes, studied the USB drive. "If what's on this is real, you're about to start a wildfire." Renee straightened. "Then, let it burn." Rhodes nodded. "I'll verify everything through federal channels. But understand, Hale isn't just a dirty cop. He's connected to people who expect their profits every month." "I don't care who they are," Renee said. "He killed my father and destroyed my sister's life. I'm done being quiet." Rhodes smiled faintly. "Good. Just don't get killed before this hits the wire." Back in her cell, Naomi closed her eyes, hearing distant thunder roll across the bay. She imagined her sister driving through the night, files in the passenger seat, a storm behind her and another ahead. The sisters were no longer victims. They were evidence. Every breath they took now was testimony. And as lightning split the horizon, Naomi whispered to the dark, "You taught me the law, Dad." Now I'm using it as a weapon. The storm outside rose again, howling like it remembered her name. The next morning broke clear and cold, the kind of deceptive calm that always came before something exploded. Naomi was escorted to a meeting room, wrists cuffed, mind sharpened. Her lawyer, Dara Lynn, waited with a folder of motions she already knew would be denied. But what mattered wasn't the paperwork. It was the message hidden inside it. A note from Renee, slipped between pages. Check the watch inventory. They don't know what it holds. Naomi folded the paper calmly and handed it back. We'll fight this, she said aloud for the guard's benefit. Inside, her pulse steadied. The watch, her father's watch, was her contingency plan. At that same hour, across town, Renee stood before the rusted gates of the Harbor Light warehouse. She wore a baseball cap and carried a press badge, the kind that made most security guards look the other way. Jamal monitored from the car nearby, screens glowing with hacked security feeds. You've got 15 minutes before the cameras loop, he said through the earpiece. Plenty of time, Renee replied. She slipped inside, the air heavy with the smell of oil and salt. Crates labeled furniture imports lined the walls. She pried one open plastic wrap, vacuum seals, cocaine bricks. Her breath caught. She snapped photo after photo. In the office upstairs, she found ledgers with shipping dates matching police seizures. The evidence was undeniable. Then footsteps echoed below. 2 men entered, Morales and another officer. Renee froze behind a filing cabinet as they argued. Hale's spooked, Morales muttered. That video shouldn't exist. Then find whoever filmed it, the other said. And the sister? Get her off the board. Her stomach tightened. She pressed her phone's silent shutter once more, capturing their faces. Then she slipped out a side door and into the wind. Meanwhile, Hale stood in his office with District Attorney Dunn. You can't delay the trial, Hale demanded. Every hour she breathes is a risk. Dunn adjusted his tie. You've got a media firestorm already. If you rush it, it looks like panic. Then spin it, Hale snapped. Make her the symbol of hypocrisy, black lawyer gone corrupt. The public loves redemption stories. Dunn hesitated. You're playing with gasoline, Victor. I've been fireproof for 20 years. That night, Renee met Camille Rhodes in an underground parking garage, the USB drive trembling in her hand. I have proof of drug redistribution through Harbor Light, Renee said. Shipments, payments, officer names. Rhodes's face hardened. If this is verified, we can file a federal warrant. But we'll need corroborating material from inside the department. Naomi, Renee realized. The watch. Back in jail, Naomi stared through the small window at the streaks of orange dusk. Keisha spoke from the lower bunk. You ever think justice is just another word people use to sleep at night? Naomi managed a faint smile. Justice isn't sleep. It's what keeps you awake. Keisha studied her, then whispered, If you get out, tell my brother I didn't quit fighting, I promise. As the lights flickered off, Naomi lay awake, planning. She would request her personal effects through legal channels, disguised as routine verification. The watch would return to her hands, and when it did, Hale's entire empire would crumble. Outside, Renee drove toward the city, night pressing hard against the windshield. Jamal's voice crackled over the radio. Warehouse just locked down. Hale knows someone was inside. Renee gripped the wheel tighter. Then we're out of time. Neither sister slept that night. One waited behind bars. The other raced against the clock. Both knew dawn would bring a reckoning, and only one side would still be standing when the sun rose over Hawthorne Ridge. Morning broke sharp and restless. Reporters swarmed the courthouse steps, chasing rumors that Naomi Ellis's trial would begin within days. Inside the detention center, she met with Ethan Cole again, his face drawn and sleepless. "We're running out of time," he said. "Hale's pushing for a conviction before anyone upstairs can act." Naomi leaned forward, voice low. "What about the feds? They're watching, but they need irrefutable proof, financial records, direct links to shipments. Your sister's work helps, but it's not enough yet." Naomi's gaze hardened. "Then we'll give them everything. My father didn't die for nothing." Across the bay, Renee and Jamal sat in a cluttered motel room filled with laptops and coffee cups. Camille Rhodes appeared on a video call, her tone urgent. "Harbor Light Imports isn't just local. It's tied to Clearwater Holdings, a multinational logistics firm under federal scrutiny. If we connect Hale to their ledgers, we can trigger a RICO case." "Then where do we find the ledgers?" Renee asked. "In a secondary warehouse," Camille said. "Unit 14, West Dock Industrial Park. Hale visits twice a month, always off the record." Renee nodded. "We'll get in tonight." Meanwhile, Hale stood in the locker room of precinct headquarters, talking to Morales in a hushed tone. "The leak at Pier 32 nearly cost me everything," he said. "You'll oversee cleanup at West Dock. No witnesses, no mistakes." Morales hesitated. "Captain, maybe we're in too deep." Hale's eyes turned cold. "Too deep is when you stop swimming. Handle it." That night, fog blanketed the docks like spilled smoke. Renee parked in the shadows while Jamal launched a small drone from the trunk. The live feed flickered to life, grainy views of metal doors, floodlights, armed guards. "There," Jamal whispered. "Unit 14. Hale just arrived." Renee tightened her headset, recording everything. Through the drone's camera, they watched Hale enter with 2 officers and a man in a tailored suit, someone from Clearwater Holdings. They opened crates, counted stacks of cash, exchanged envelopes. Renee whispered, "That's money laundering, distribution, all of it. This is the nail in his coffin." Jamal nodded, eyes fixed on the monitor. "We just need the audio clear, wait." The feed glitched, static flaring. "They're using jammers. I'm losing signal." "Keep it steady," Renee urged, stepping closer to the warehouse fence. She raised her camera, zoomed in through the fog. For one perfect second, Hale's face turned toward the lens, his lips forming words she couldn't hear. Then the floodlights shifted, too bright, too fast. Someone had noticed. "Jamal, they saw us." He yanked the drone back, engines whining. Renee dove behind a stack of crates as shouts erupted. Footsteps pounded closer. She crawled beneath the pier's support beams, breath shallow, camera clutched to her chest. Above her, Hale's voice carried through the fog. "Search the perimeter. Bring me the device." She waited until the footsteps faded, then sprinted for the car. Jamal floored the accelerator, tires screeching. "Please tell me we got something," he gasped. Renee checked the playback. The video was scrambled, but one still frame remained, Hale shaking hands with the Clearwater executive. An envelope visible between them. "It's enough," she said, though her voice trembled. At that same moment, inside her cell, Naomi's watch was returned after a legal request. She held it gently, pressing the hidden clasp until it clicked open. Inside lay a micro SD card no one had discovered. She smiled faintly. "Dad, your timing's perfect. 2 sisters, 2 pieces of the same truth, and tomorrow night When everything collided, Hawthorne Ridge would finally see who Captain Hale really was. The following morning, Naomi sat in the holding cell outside the courtroom, shackled but steady. She had slept no more than an hour, yet her eyes were clear. The watch rested in her hands, the micro SD card now hidden in her braid. The guard called her name. "Ellis, you're up!" Inside, the courtroom buzzed like a hive. Spectators filled every seat, reporters whispered, and Captain Hale watched from the back row, his expression calm, smug. Judge Harold Pike entered, adjusting his robes with casual authority. "Case number 4258, he announced. State versus Naomi Ellis. Her attorney, Dara Lynn, rose. "Your Honor, we move to introduce a motion to review the chain of custody on evidence seized during Ms. Ellis's arrest." District Attorney Dunn stood smoothly. "The defense is attempting delay. The evidence was processed correctly." Dara pressed on. "We have reason to believe denied," the judge interrupted. "Proceed to plea." Naomi's voice cut through the murmurs. "Not guilty." Hale's jaw tightened. By noon, the hearing ended with a trial date set for the following Monday. As guards escorted Naomi out, she caught sight of her sister standing near the exit. Renee's eyes met hers. No words, just the briefest nod. The plan was moving. That evening, in the cramped motel room that had become their command center, Renee, Jamal, and Camille Rhodes examined the new data pulled from the watch's memory card. GPS logs, voice recordings, timestamps, Jamal said. Every visit Hale made to the docks, every unauthorized stop. He's been meeting with Clearwater executives for years. Renee scrolled through audio files. Hale's voice filled the speakers. "Package delivered same route as last month. Clean up the paperwork." Camille exhaled. "That's conspiracy, distribution, obstruction, all federal crimes. We can get a warrant. But we need a trigger," Renee said. "Something public, something they can't bury." Camille's eyes narrowed. "Then we catch him in the act. He's expecting another shipment tomorrow night. $5 million in product if my contact's right." Across town, Hale met Morales in his office. The blinds were closed, the lights low. "Everything's set for tomorrow," Morales said. "Truck's at 11. Transfer complete by midnight." "Good," Hale replied. "By dawn, Ellis will be convicted, and by sunset, we'll be clean." Morales hesitated. "Captain, what if she has something? I keep hearing things, audio, photos." Hale's smile was ice. "Then we remind people who controls the evidence." In her cell, Naomi turned the watch over and over in her palm. She could almost feel her father's hand there, guiding her. "You left me everything I need," she whispered. "Now I just have to survive long enough to use it." That night, Renee typed furiously, drafting the story that would shatter the city. Federal sources probe police drug ring tied to Captain Hale. She didn't publish yet. Timing was everything. Jamal packed the surveillance gear, and Camille prepared the federal paperwork. At midnight, rain returned to Hawthorne Ridge. It slicked the docks, drowned the sirens, and blurred the line between hunter and hunted. Hale's convoy of police cruisers rolled into the industrial park, headlights cutting through the storm. He stepped out, coat billowing, unaware that 2 drones tracked his every move. From the motel, Renee whispered, "We have him." Inside the warehouse, Hale laughed with the Clearwater man as duffel bags changed hands. Outside, cameras rolled, microphones caught every word. For the first time, the predator stood squarely in the light and didn't know it. The next morning, Hawthorne Ridge stirred to rumors. Something about a raid, a federal sting, an operation in progress. But inside the county jail, Naomi Ellis knew nothing yet. She sat across from Ethan Cole in the visitor's booth, his expression a mix of exhaustion and urgency. "It's happening tonight," he said quietly. "Federal task force is in position. Your sister's involved too. Hale's running a shipment through the docks, $5 million in cocaine." Naomi's pulse quickened. "He'll destroy everything if he senses danger. Which is why we have to let him walk into his own trap," Cole replied. "But we need corroboration from you, something personal that links him directly. The files from your watch could do that." Naomi glanced toward the camera above them. "Then you'd better make sure they reach the right hands. Because if Hale finds out what's on that card, I won't live to testify." Cole hesitated, then slid a folded note through the slot. "There's a safe contact, Agent Rhonda Davis, federal prosecutor. If you're moved, she's your lifeline." When he left, Naomi pressed the note into her palm, memorizing every word. She felt the walls closing in. She also felt control slipping back to her. Across the bay, Renee and Jamal were setting up their gear in a borrowed van overlooking the docks. Camille Rhodes joined them, federal credentials ready, earpiece buzzing with radio chatter. "Task Force's go time is 11, she said. "We wait until Hale takes possession of the shipment. Then we move." Renee nodded, nerves electric. "Naomi's counting on this. We can't screw it up." The rain came harder, thick sheets hammering the windshield. Through the night vision monitor, they watched silhouettes moving inside the warehouse. Hale stood at the center, clipboard in hand, directing his officers like an orchestra. Crates opened, duffel bags lifted, envelopes exchanged. Camille whispered, "Recording started. He's talking, mentioning Clearwater." Jamal zoomed in, got him shaking hands with the courier. Audio clean. Renee's breath caught. "That's enough for a warrant." Inside the warehouse, Morales' nerves cracked. "Captain, this doesn't feel right. We've got unmarked vans parked near the bridge. Someone's watching." Hale turned slowly, eyes narrowing. "You think I didn't plan for that? If they're watching, let them. They'll see me finish what I started." At exactly 11:30, Camille spoke into her radio. "Move in." Federal agents swarmed from both ends of the pier, floodlights igniting the night. "Federal Bureau of Investigation, drop your weapons." Chaos erupted. Officers scattered. Hale reached for his gun but froze as Ethan Cole stepped from the shadows, weapon raised. "It's over, Captain." For a split second, Hale's face showed pure disbelief. "You?" "Internal Affairs," Cole said, "and federal witness." Hale's jaw tightened. "You think this changes anything?" "I own this city." "No," Cole replied. "You just lost it." Agents cuffed him as cameras rolled. Morales dropped his weapon, trembling. The Clearwater executive tried to run but was tackled near the loading ramp. From the van, Renee filmed every second, tears mixing with rain. Camille turned to her. "You just exposed one of the largest police corruption rings in state history." Back at the jail, Naomi heard distant sirens and shouting from the hallway. Guards ran past, radios crackling with news of arrests. Keisha looked up from her bunk. "What's happening?" Naomi smiled for the first time in days. "Justice," she said softly. "Real justice." She pressed the hidden watch to her chest. For the first time since her father's death, the word didn't feel impossible. Outside, dawn broke over the harbor, washing the city in pale gold. The storm had ended, and with it, Captain Victor Hale's empire. By sunrise, Hawthorne Ridge was no longer silent. News vans crowded the courthouse lawn, microphones bristling like bayonets. Headlines screamed, "Police captain arrested in federal drug sting." The footage of Hale being handcuffed replayed across every channel. Yet inside the detention center, Naomi Ellis still sat in her cell, unaware that her world had shifted. Ethan Cole arrived at 9 sharp, breathless, uniform, damp from the rain. "It's over," he said through the bars. "They got him. The feds took Hale, Morales, everyone. Your sister was there." Naomi gripped the bars. "Is Renee safe?" "She's fine." Her footage broke the story. "The agents want you out within 24 hours. Naomi sank onto the bench, eyes closing. Relief didn't come as she expected. It hit like a wave of exhaustion. "He's really in custody?" Cole nodded. "Federal lockup. They're charging him under RICO and conspiracy. The same charges your father tried to file 8 years ago." For a long moment, Naomi couldn't speak. Her father's name, Leon Ellis, seemed to echo off the walls. The man everyone had called corrupt now stood vindicated, even in death. Across town, Renee stood on the courthouse steps, cameras flashing in her face. Reporters shouted questions. "Miss Ellis, is it true your father investigated Hale? How long have you known? Are you assisting the feds?" Renee kept her composure. "My sister believed in the justice system even when it turned against her. Now the truth speaks for itself." Behind her, Camille Rhodes addressed the press. The Ellis case was a linchpin for uncovering systemic corruption within the Hawthorne Ridge Police Department. 11 officers have been charged. We're reopening multiple convictions tied to Captain Hale's unit. That night, Naomi met Camille for the first time. They spoke in a secure conference room at the federal courthouse, the hum of fluorescent lights filling the silence. Camille slid a file across the table. "Your father's original reports. He sent them to my office before he died. We never received follow-up because his death was ruled suicide." Naomi opened the folder. Her father's handwriting filled every page, precise, methodical, relentless. "He was building the same case you just finished," Camille said softly. Naomi swallowed hard. "He didn't kill himself." "No," Camille agreed. "We've reopened the inquiry. The medical examiner who signed off on the suicide is under investigation for falsifying records. There's a strong chance your father was murdered." The words felt like both a wound and a cure. Later in her cell, Naomi packed her few belongings. The guard stopped outside. "Ellis, you're being processed for release." She looked up slowly. "I didn't think I'd hear that again." Outside, Renee waited. When Naomi stepped through the gates, her sister ran forward, wrapping her in a fierce hug. For a moment, the city, the cameras, the noise, all disappeared. "I saw the footage," Naomi whispered. "You caught everything." Renee smiled through tears. "We did it together." At sunset, they returned to the old cabin by Lake Alder, the same place where it had all begun. Jamal and Camille were already there, stacks of files and recording equipment spread across the table. Camille said, "The fallout's just starting. The governor's ordering a full review of the department. They'll need your help, Naomi, someone who understands both sides of the system." Naomi touched her father's watch, its surface warm against her palm. "Then we start rebuilding it the way it should have been." Outside, the lake reflected the orange sky, calm at last. For the first time in years, Naomi allowed herself to breathe freely. Justice had finally spoken, and it carried her father's voice. A week after the raid, Hawthorne Ridge felt like a city awakening from anesthesia, slow, disoriented, and ashamed. The smiling billboards of Captain Victor Hale were gone, leaving rusted frames that caught the morning light like scars. The police headquarters buzzed with unfamiliar tension as federal agents combed through records, shredding decades of lies disguised as paperwork. For the first time in years, officers walked the halls without swagger. Silence had replaced fear. Naomi Ellis sat at a long conference table in the Federal Bureau's downtown office, a row of microphones in front of her. Camille Rhodes led the debrief. "Miss Ellis," she said gently, "please describe the events of your arrest and subsequent detention." Naomi's voice didn't waver. She told them everything: the stop, the planted cocaine, the false warrant, the way Hale's voice never shook while he lied. When she finished, she reached into her bag and placed a small recording device on the table. "And this," she said quietly, "is him admitting to probable cause fabrication." The playback was crisp, Hale's baritone unmistakable. "I smell marijuana. That gives me cause." The room went still. Camille's expression hardened. "You understand, Ms. Ellis, that this closes the circle. Combined with your sister's footage, these tapes make the federal case airtight. You've not only cleared your name, you've dismantled his network." Naomi let out a long breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Then let's make it mean something," she said. That afternoon, she faced a press line outside the courthouse. Reporters swarmed, microphones lunging forward. "Ms. Ellis, do you feel vindicated? Will you sue the department? What message do you have for the people of Hawthorne Ridge?" Naomi paused, hands clasped. "Justice isn't a moment," she said. "It's maintenance. If we stop fighting for it, it collapses." The quote dominated every major broadcast that evening. At City Hall, Camille addressed a closed committee session. 11 officers indicted, 3 have pleaded guilty, 32 past convictions reopened. "This isn't cleanup, it's reconstruction." The mayor rubbed his temples. "We've lost public trust." "Then start earning it back," Camille replied. "Transparency is cheaper than corruption." Meanwhile, Naomi returned to the old cabin by Lake Alder, the same wooden refuge that had sheltered her father's evidence, her sister's resolve, and her own rebirth. Renee sat at the table, surrounded by files, while Jamal traced offshore accounts. "You were right," he said. "Clearwater Holdings funneled money to another shell company, Triaxis Logistics. Same officers, same transactions, just different names." Renee frowned. So Hale wasn't the head. He was the gatekeeper. Naomi stared out the window at the still lake. "Corruption like that doesn't die with one man. It mutates." Later, Camille arrived with another file. "Your father's case is officially reopened," she said. "The coroner who ruled his death a suicide has been suspended. There's strong evidence the report was falsified at Hale's request." Naomi's throat tightened. "You're saying my father was murdered?" Camille nodded. "We can't confirm yet, but we're close." That night, Naomi walked the shoreline, the air thick with pine and rain. She could almost hear her father's voice. "Never stop recording the truth. Someday someone will listen." Camille joined her quietly. "We're forming a statewide review task force," she said. "We want you to oversee legal integrity." Naomi turned, startled. "You're serious?" "Completely," Camille said. "You've lived both sides of this system. That makes you dangerous to the people who fear change." Naomi smiled faintly. "Then I guess I'm still in the fight." Back at the cabin, Renee recorded her podcast. "Justice," her voice said through the speakers. Isn't thunder. It's persistence. Naomi listened in silence, watching her father's watch tick on the table. Steady, unbroken, and still moving forward. 6 months later, Hawthorne Ridge looked almost unrecognizable. The city that had once whispered under corruption now hummed with cautious hope. The police headquarters, once Hale's fortress, gleamed with transparent glass walls. Citizens lined up to request public records, something unheard of a year ago. A new brass plaque at the entrance read, "The Thomas Ellis Justice Initiative, founded to serve, not silence." Inside the renovated community center, Naomi Ellis adjusted the microphone on the podium. A packed crowd filled the hall. Reporters, community leaders, former inmates, and families of those wrongfully accused. Behind her, a banner stretched across the stage. Defend, reform, restore. Today, Naomi began, her voice steady but warm. We dedicate this space to the people who never stopped believing that justice could be repaired. The Ellis Initiative will offer free legal defense, investigative support, and trauma counseling to anyone wronged by abuse of power. My father believed in this mission long before I did. He gave his life for it. Now, we carry it forward. Applause rose, long and thunderous. In the front row sat Keisha Monroe, now free and radiant in a navy blazer. She was the program's outreach director, tasked with helping exonerated citizens rebuild their lives. Beside her were Marcus Johnson and Elena Martinez, two other victims of Hale's network, both newly cleared of all charges. Jamal Ortiz managed the cybersecurity division, ensuring every piece of data remained safe and public. Renee stood near the press line, camera crew in tow. Her exposé series, Harbor Light Exposed, had just earned her a National Journalism Award. She smiled as Naomi spoke, pride and disbelief blending in her eyes. It had taken nearly a decade, but the Ellis sisters had turned their family's grief into an engine for change. When the applause died down, Camille Rhodes stepped to the microphone. 6 months ago, this city was synonymous with corruption. Today, it's an example of recovery. The Ellis Initiative, in collaboration with federal oversight, has reopened 47 wrongful conviction cases. 11 officers have confessed, and 3 new investigations are active. This is what reform looks like. The audience erupted again. Naomi scanned the crowd and caught sight of Captain Ethan Cole, now interim police chief. He stood with a group of young recruits, diverse, watchful, determined. After the ceremony, he approached quietly. "Your father would be proud," Cole said. Naomi smiled faintly. Pride isn't what he wanted. He wanted accountability. "And that's exactly what you're building," he said, step by step. Outside, the spring air was crisp, carrying the scent of cedar and salt from the harbor. Children played near the fountain in front of the building. Keisha laughed with volunteers. Marcus gave an interview about forgiveness, and for the first time in years, the city didn't feel divided. It felt awake. That evening, Naomi drove alone to Alder Hill Cemetery. The gravel crunched beneath her tires, the setting sun painting the sky amber. She knelt before her father's grave, now marked with a new inscription. Detective Thomas Ellis, died in the line of duty, 1965-2017. She placed his silver watch on the headstone. "We did it, Dad," she whispered. "Your name's clean. Your work lives on. You were right. Truth doesn't die. It waits." A soft wind moved through the trees as if answering her. Behind her, Renee's footsteps approached. "They just called from the paper," she said. A deputy in the next county reached out. "There's talk of another precinct running a similar operation. They're asking for our help. Naomi rose slowly. Then we keep going, one fight at a time. Renee smiled. You ever get tired of chasing justice? Every day, Naomi said. But stopping isn't an option. As they walked back to the car, the city lights shimmered below, alive and waiting. Naomi glanced at the horizon, the glow of Hawthorne Ridge reflected in her eyes. Justice, she realized, was never a single victory. It was a rhythm, a heartbeat that demanded to keep going, and she would make sure it never stopped.